The Huskies open fall camp Friday afternoon. Here's everything Chris Petersen had to say at his press conference Thursday, a day before the No. 6 Huskies open fall camp practices, opening, about that time, I guess. Softy, don't get any ideas about buying the same shirt Petersen is wearing. You already ruined my other one. It's time. These kids have been working for a long time, it feels like, and I think they've worked extremely hard this summer. We don't get to do football with them in the summer and after spring, so it feels like it's been a really long time since we've really been together and been with these guys, so now it's a good time to just get out there and go to work. I know they're in really good running shape. I know they're in really good lifting shape, and now we've got to get in good football shape. Excited to get back out there with those guys. Does the amount of experience you have changed your preparation for fall camp? No, it hasn't. It's always about the real good teams. It's always about depth. I don't think there's too many teams in the country that are feeling really good, like, we're super experienced. You just know you're not going to be playing with all those guys. It just changes. It's always about improving, building depth, those type of things, and we've got a lot of work to do there. You talk about all this experience, but I think teams change from good teams to great teams, or average teams to good teams, with how the old guys progress. We talk about that a lot. I'm just very adamant about that. So I'm anxious to get out there and see those guys that do have experience and have played with us, where their game goes in this next month. I really am anxious to see this. Those kids have played a lot for us because they're good players and they've played at a high level and put a lot of hard work in. The big question is, can they take that next step with what they've been doing? You talk a lot about how hard it is for a player to make a big jump from junior to senior year. What does it look like when a player does make a big jump as a senior? What kind of things do they improve on? They just play at a higher level. It's a lot of little subtle things that add up to be, this guy's just playing at a different level. It's all the little nuances of the game at your position. You think of the guys that we've had here in the past that have done a really good job, that have moved on, those seniors. It's one of the reasons we've done some good things here these past handful of years, because those seniors really have stepped up and their game has looked different. It's always the sum of the parts that change things. So if a bunch of these guys can do that, this could be a little bit different. I just don't want to understate how difficult that process is. There's some guys that are really pretty good players, but we're serious about, can we take the next step, as individuals, and also as a team, on awarding the No. 2 jersey number in honor of Chuck Carroll. Why did Aaron Fuller get it, or was he the only one to raise his hand? No, there would be like half our team wanting No. 2. We're really excited about getting number 2 back into the mix. I think Chuck Carroll, all the research, what a fabulous player, what a great person, and what he did with his life, became an attorney and all those type of things. It was interesting, because number 2 is, we probably have 3 guys in every class that wear number 2 that want that number. College kids seem to be into these single digits. I always tell them, why? Because if you're wearing a single digit in the NFL, you're not lasting long. I don't know why you'd want a single, but they do, and 2 seems to be a really popular one. We just think it can honor. I don't think a lot of people even knew that number was retired here. So to get it back into it and draw attention to Chuck's family, I think is really a positive thing. We'll have a thing in our media programs about it. Hopefully you guys research it and do a little story on it. To me, that's the way to honor that, not to put it away and nobody knows who that was. In terms of Aaron, he's the guy with seniority around here that's done a really good job. That's what he wore in high school and was really wanting to get his hands back on that number, but never thought there would be an opportunity. On the redshirt rule change will alter your philosophy on playing first-year guys. It could, but we're not thinking that going into it. We think we're going to figure it out how we always do. who's ready to go and play those guys and kind of see how this season goes for the rest of the guys. And then when you probably get toward the end of your season, that's when it's going to be, I don't know what the right word is, an insurance marker where you feel like you lost guys and you need some guys out there and you're not worried about playing a kid for such few games. It's not going to cost them that they can still get that year back. We're excited about it, our eyes are wide open. I think it's going to be a learning experience for everybody involved, but our approach is kind of the same going into it. Does that still hold true with the quarterbacks, knowing no one behind Jake Browning has a live snap? Yeah, I think so. You know how hard it is to even get a number 2 guy reps. Now if you're getting other guys, we'll see how that goes. I know the quarterback thing has been brought up, and if there's one of these guys you really feel strongly that he's going to redshirt, well, maybe they're not going redshirt, depending on injuries, depending on how things progress. So again, I don't totally see that changing as well. I get where everybody's coming from on this quarterback thing, but I think our eyes will go wide open. If we play a game early on and we say, hey, let's put a guy in, and we use one of those games where we may really need him down the road, then all of a sudden you're like, it might handcuff ourselves a little bit. So that's the part we're still looking at and trying to figure it out. How do you envision Salvon Ahmed's role being this season? I hope he gets the ball a lot. I think we have smart coaches that are trying to figure out how to do that. I think he's a really explosive player that needs to get the ball in different ways. I think we did a pretty solid job of that last year. But he's one of the guys we've got to figure out how to get the ball to. It can be multiple ways: special teams, certainly in the backfield, certainly at the receiver position. He should be able to handle a little bit more this year because he's had a good year with us. Any rule changes that will change your preparation? You have 2 big rule changes that will be big. One change for the kids and one for the coaches. One is going to be the uniforms. They have to have their knees covered. They can't have their jersey hanging. Fortunately for us, we've been on that for quite a long time. NCAA is adamant. Jerseys need to be tucked in or cut off here. There's nothing hanging off. The knees need to be covered, no back pads. Those kids, they don't really like that. So that will be something to them. I think the other one is the cutting downfield past 5 yards. That's something we've got to pay attention to because receivers cut downfield, and that's a big part of the game. Linemen cut downfield past 5 yards on screen games and certain types of run schemes. That's something we've really had to look at, and how do we coach that, and where do we go from here? What does the tight end room look like right now without Hunter Bryant for a while, with Jacob Kaiser playing? This is where you start to feel where it can be painful that first year, especially at that tight end position. That is such a physical position and there's so much information there. That can be hard. And we had 2 of them with Hunter, and both unique, different skill sets, and we used them differently. But he should be further along. And Cade Otton, we think he had a really good off-season and a really good redshirt year, and we are anxious to get him in the mix. Like any good coaches, you're going to figure out what those guys' strengths are and play to them. Their skill sets are certainly different than Hunter's skill set, those 2 guys I was just talking about, Kaiser and Otton. We'll figure out how to play to their strengths and what they do well and how much they can handle. The place kicking game had its troubles last season. What did you learn about it in the spring? That we've still got work to do. That's a wide open competition. We know that that's going to be an important part of the game, and a lot of games come down to field goals, either winning or losing games. That's not our approach. We believe that one play's not going to lose the game, but it can win the game. That's really how it is. There are so many plays that can turn the tide, but we know they're critical things. Those kids have been working hard, they really have. I'm anxious to see those guys, where they're at, and their progression. Have you tried to tweak or find new ways to have younger kickers practice for pressure? We're going to give them a lot of work. My thing always is that kickers always want to back the ball up and hit these big kicks. That's how they practice, and it's like, I don't know why you're doing that. We're not kicking a field goal from back there. I just need to know where we are going to be consistently really good. If that's the ball on the 15-yard line, I'm fine with that. We just know to go for it. So that's what we need to figure out, where that comfort spot is for whoever our kicker is. On Peyton Henry. Has he shown you anything? He did. He really did. I really like his mindset. We have this saying that every kick is the same. It doesn't matter if it's an extra point or a 45-yarder, every kick should be the same. And the way he attacks the ball, it always looks the same. He misses one, he makes one. It doesn't necessarily change in terms of his aggressiveness to the ball, and he did some good things with the win at all costs mentality so present in college football. How do you reconcile that with maintaining your values? I don't think it's win at all costs. We just had that meeting this morning with our staff. All the time, it's not win at all costs, it's win with the values and beliefs that you're all about. That's how we do it. And I think that it's just important that we stay true to who we are and what we are trying to be, and I think that's why it's important to talk about those things and the philosophy of the program. Everybody has a philosophy and everybody talks about culture ad nauseum. But that is what I do think, the things that you truly want to be about. Some of it is inspirational. And it's hard. We're not perfect, so it's hard with the pressure, and you get blown off course. That's why I always say, why you have a philosophy of who you are and how you want to do things. So when things get really good, you don't get off track, and when things get hard and the pressure builds, you don't get off track. We just have to believe in how we are and what you're trying to do. It's not a win at all costs. I think that's the wrong way to think about it. And I think if that's what it is, that's a lot of the problem. Have you ever been tempted to waver from that philosophy? I think every day something comes across my desk that I'm challenged integrity-wise. It's not about making one good decision and move on. It's like an everyday thing when you're in a big organization or a big place. And a lot of the times, it's subtle stuff. It all starts small. We tell our players all the time that it all starts small. You don't end up all of a sudden. That doesn't happen. So you have to pay attention to the small things to make sure that you're on track with who you want to be and how you want to conduct business. Is that something you need to reiterate with your staff often? Like I tell you guys, we take nothing for granted here. Our job as coaches, that's my job as the head coach. I don't care how long it is. I tell those guys, I'm not talking and preaching to them. I'm first and foremost talking to myself. Like all these great things that we try to aspire to be about, and how to do things and be a leader and all these things, it's stuff that I study and I'm passionate about it. I try to pass that on, but I'm always talking about myself, first and foremost. What can you say about new WR42 SUA Goatee.net? Well, it's hard for me to know because Blue Angels fly over building. Oh, they're here. That makes my stomach queasy. They made me throw up back in the day, but that's a different story. In the plane or out? Oh, in the plane. Can we hear that story? You can. But to answer your previous question on SUA Goatee.net, I don't know. We don't do football with him. You know, we're not around football when those kids are throwing the ball around. So, I don't know a bunch about these guys, like what their skill set is going to be with our guys. And there's a bunch more guys I'm interested in. I did the Blue Angels a handful of years back, and wow. I don't even know how to explain this. I mean, it was the most painful half hour of my life. I mean, I was up in the middle of this going, please stop this ride, this is not fun. What it just gives you so much respect for those guys up there. Like, when they would really be in combat and maneuvering, and I mean, I don't even know how the guy was flying the plane, because I couldn't even see. I was almost passing out half the time, and I had tears in my eyes. When I got off the plane I kissed the ground. It was like I made it. You wouldn't do it again? I've had that question a lot, and I don't think I could do it again. Softy said he lasted 15 minutes before he puked. How long did you last? Well, I lasted a little bit longer, but we were coming into land, and they told us not to eat, so I was more dry heaving than actually throwing up. The last thing the guy says to me is he's strapping me in, and I don't know what I was thinking because I'm kind of claustrophobic too, and I thought, I need to get out of this plane, and the pilot wasn't even in yet. And the guy said, what are you even talking about, the pilot's not here? And I said, no, I need to get out. Right then and there I should have gotten off. Where were you when you did this? I was in Idaho, I think Twin Falls. All I know is we're going down the runway and the guy says, we're going to go down here and we're going to go really fast, and I'm going to say, are you ready to fly? And you say yes, and I'm going to pull back on this joystick and it's going to be like nothing you've ever felt. So we take off and we're going really fast, and that was really awesome, like the plane we normally go off of but like 10 times as fast, and you're right off the ground, and I was thinking this was pretty great. And he says, are you ready to fly? And I said, I guess, and then boom. I was like, oh my stars, and it only got worse from there. Was it because you felt out of control? I mean, I don't know if it was out of control. I mean, I couldn't lift my hands up, and then I didn't know where I was anyways, like, open your eyes and look up, and I was upside down and I could see the earth. And then all of a sudden the pressure was coming on. I mean, it was the most different feeling I've ever had. So finally we're coming upon the airport to land, and he was doing this sideswipe turn to land, and it wasn't that many G's, but I was so tired at that time that your vision nerves and everything was looking gray. It was almost like looking through a straw. You had to start pushing back with this maneuver they teach you to get your breath. I was like, you're kidding me? I'm going to pass out before I get back. So I was breathing a certain way, and my vision starts to clear. You guys should try it sometime. Just saying. I'm good though. What's the process that you guys go through with JUCO, transfers, and walk-ons? It's a little back and forth. We have a lot of kids that want to walk on, but we really want to make sure that they feel like they can contribute at this level and that they can play and bring value to themselves and to the program as well, so it's a little back and forth. Sometimes we'll look at our numbers, and we like to see balance there, so sometimes we'll try to actively go out and seek guys, so there's always positions that are easier to come by, and ones that are harder to come by, so you're always keeping an eye open for that. And it's not just about football. Can they do the school here? Can they get into school here? All those types of things. But the thing we always feel great about here, I mean, I can't tell you how many walk-ons have earned scholarships. I mean, we've had walk-ons make it to the NFL. The one thing I always feel good about is, I don't even like talking about walk-ons because I don't think that's right because they're dogs now. And the beauty of it is that most of our guys don't know who's a walk-on and who's on scholarship. I think that's how it should be in terms of how the coaches treat them and players treat them. Is everyone from the 2018 class expected to be on the field Friday? For the most part. Ale Cajo will not be here tomorrow. He's got some family things he's taking care of, and we'll just kind of take it day by day from there. Other than that, everybody's expected to be here. I know you can't talk about the Urban Meyer situation directly, but can you address the standards and practices you have for assistant coaches and staff, especially things that are beyond standard behavior clauses? What do you emphasize with your staff? We talk so much to our players about Built for Life, just how to conduct business, how it should be. Again, I go back to it starts with us as coaches. So we have a lot of these conversations. We had a conversation yesterday and today about this stuff, but we are going to have conversations about this all the time when it's appropriate, what's going on in the real world and how it fits with us and applies to us. I think Jen Cohen does a nice job for the whole athletic department. We have some different training around here, like what the protocol is when something happens, when you hear something, you see something. Which is different than it was 5 years ago, or maybe even 2 years ago. Like, we're supposed to do that? Well, okay. So I think she's all over it. We try to pay attention as much as we can. We just try to do the right thing. And I think it comes down to that. There's still going to be mistakes made. We get that. We're human and there's a lot of dynamics and all those things, and I'm not trying to make ourselves different or better than they are. But it's something you talk about and you pay attention and you try to live a life that you want the kids to live, and it all works together. On NCAA's elimination of two-a-day practices a couple years ago, I never really liked two-a-day practices. I think there's a point of diminishing return where you're not making yourself better. So a couple years ago we went to a kind of an hour to an hour and a half, no padded teaching practice, but it was not very physical. We didn't have helmets on or anything. We counted that as a two-a-day practice, and it was awesome. It was game-changing. We finally felt like we'd cracked the code on how to do this correctly. And then the NCAA took it away from us, which I think was the wrong thing to do. Because our kids were more on top of the material we were presenting to them, they were as fresh as they ever were, they were doing the right thing. But we can't do that now. So, yes, every rep out there really matters. Not because we can't have two physical practices in the same day, but because of this other time that was taken away from us that we thought was awesome. And the kids liked it. We were getting a lot of productivity done, and it was maybe only about 4 or 5 of them during the course of the month. But they were really good for us, and we can't do those. I think the wideouts, I think they've had a pretty good spring from all indications. They've lifted weights and ran very well. Jake would think the whole crew, Jake Browning, was really pleased with how that whole crew has been working, and what is going on with receives and quarterbacks has been good. I'm optimistic and excited to see these guys go. That group, how's Chico McClatcher? Chico is good. We have a handful of guys that, and it's no different every year, that we'll pay close attention to, and it's not like business as usual. Especially the older guys that have been taking a lot of reps. You've got to pay attention to guys and monitoring how much they're going, and that really goes for our team. We talked about this earlier at the Pac-12 meetings. There is a build-up phase for your team. It used to be go as hard as you can from the start, and some of the information we're getting, that's maybe not the best way. Whether it's an injured guy, whether it's your team, we haven't played football for a long time, and that's different than lifting and running. So there is a build-up phase. That's really hard for us coaches to do, to pull this thing back when we're getting started. And our guys won't pull back. They're ready to go. As coaches, we need to cut time down, cut reps down, to build this thing throughout the month of August. Anyone besides Hunter Bryant out with long-term injuries? No, because you know our injury policy, we're not going to say anything unless somebody is out for a long period of time or the season. Nobody fits that category. On what Jimmy Lake's prep to call defensive plays? Not really, because every practice we have periods where it's not scripted, where the coordinators just need to call football. We have a lot of periods that are situational. So he will get work every day himself on how to call the game he feels is appropriate. On preparing to play Auburn in opener, we kind of always stick to what we do. We know, everybody knows the quality of opponent we're opening with, but it's always about us first and foremost before we can even start paying attention to the opponent. We have to get ourselves right. We've got to get our schemes and then worry about who we are playing in a couple of weeks. That never really changes for us in terms of how we go about it. On new outside linebackers with Tevis Bartlett shifting inside, we have some young guy we really like. Miles Rice and Ariel Nada. Benning and Bowman and Joe Tryon, who redshirted and has done some good things. That's a decent crew right there that we'll mix and match and see. We wouldn't have done that had we not felt like that's better overall. I think it's a win-win because I think Tevis, we know we can always kick him back out there. He's one of the smartest guys we have, so we know we can kick him back out there. It's nice to have that insurance marker there. But I think he helps our overall defense inside, and it helps him, maybe, his skill set even more. I'm excited to see how this one progresses. You smiled when you mentioned Joe Tryon. What has he done? Well, not much. He's a good-looking guy when he walks by and he works hard in the weight room, so that gives me a smile on my face. He did a great job redshirting and he did a nice job in spring ball, and he's a big, good-looking guy that can move. He's athletic, so we're excited about his future and what he could possibly bring to the table. But he's a young guy who hasn't played a snap of college football, but we're interested to see what he can do. On Trey Adams, Trey is doing well. He's making progress and he's another one of those guys. Obviously, we know we'll be smart with and figure out how to build him back into this. What is the next step for Jake going into year 4? With all those guys, it's the consistency at an elite level. That's what we're looking for. Jake plays really good football and made some spectacular plays here. Whether we're talking about Myles Gaskin or JoJo McIntosh or whoever, it's like, okay, what are we talking about here, in terms of them taking the next step? It's them doing their job, and not doing someone else's job, and a lot of times that looks just like simple football. Yep, it is. But doing that at a consistent level, and then all the wisdom them have all the years playing for us, if they can bring that to the table, athletic skills that they have, do that play after play after play, that's what we're talking about. So that's what we're looking for in Jake, to play the most difficult position in all of sports at a really high, elite level, play after play after play.